And if we had decreed upon them, kill yourselves or leave your homes, they would not have done it, except for a few of them. But if they had done what they were instructed, then it would have been better for them and a firmer position. Meaning the commands that Allah has given, they're not impossible. Allah is not telling us that we should kill ourselves. Is He? Is He telling us that we should kill ourselves? No. Whatever Allah has told us to do, is that doable? Is that practical? It is. And even if something seems to us as impractical or very difficult, we feel like we're going to suffocate, then still, what do we learn? Do it. Why? Because it will be better for us. For example, the month of Ramadan, fasting is coming. Many people find haraj in their hearts, discomfort. The thought of Ramadan makes them scared and worried. How will I fast? How will I fast? Even if we find it difficult, we should still fast. Why? If we are of those people on whom fasting is obligatory, then we should fast. Why? Because when we will do it, that will be better for us. And if we leave it without any genuine reason, then that will be worse for us. And then what happens? First few days, you feel like you're going to die. But then what happens the end of the week? It's normal. What happens on Eid day? There's food in front of you. But do you feel like eating? No. All day you cannot eat. All day you're offered food, but you cannot eat. Why? Because you're so used to staying hungry. Right? So initially it is difficult. You feel like you're going to die. It's going to kill you. You're going to suffocate. How can I go out in this hijab? Everybody's going to stare at me. How can I pray? Everybody's going to stare at me. How can I leave this? How can I stop shaping my eyebrows? Everybody's going to notice it. It's so difficult. Do it anyway. Obey Allah anyway. Why? Because that would be better. It will get easier. And then we would have given them from us a great reward. Why ajran azima? Because the effort is so great. The struggle is so great. You see, for one person who has never shaped their eyebrows, for them, they don't know what it means to leave shaping their eyebrows. Why? Because they've never done it. But for a person who's been doing it for so long, for them to leave it, what is it? First of all, they have to tell themselves, make themselves agree, I have to stop. That in itself is such a huge struggle. Because you have to kill your own ego. And then, what happens? People start looking at you. And the people who are close to you, they start commenting, they start asking you, and they start showing you fatwa. Right? That yours is an exceptional situation. Just say your husband wants you to do it, and you'll be fine. No. People will say it. So you see, there's a constant struggle. Constant struggle. But what does Allah say? وَإِذَا لَآتَيْنَاهُمْ مِن لَدُنَّا أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. Make a note of this. Anytime you find obedience to Allah difficult, any action difficult, how am I going to do this? This is so hard for me. Remind yourself, وَإِذَا لَآتَيْنَاهُمْ مِن لَدُنَّا أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا وَلَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ صِرَاطًا مُسْتَقِيمًا. And we would have guided them to a straight path. Because when a person takes one step in obedience to Allah, then what happens? Allah guides him to the next step also. To the next step also. Like when a child learns to swim, then what happens? The first few laps are difficult, but then when he gets the hang of it, then what happens? He's swimming back and forth so easily. When a child starts walking, what happens? He stands up, he falls. He stands up, he falls. And then finally when he takes one step, then what happens? Quickly, he takes one step after the other, and then he falls, right? But we see that one step leads to the other. Just like that, one good deed, when a person makes up his mind, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make myself do it. And you do it. Then what will happen? That good deed will lead to another, which will lead to another. And the exact opposite happens with sins. That when a person commits one sin deliberately, then remember, it's not going to stay one sin. It is not going to stay one sin. What is going to happen? It's going to lead to another. So for example, if it's time for Asr Salah, and we deliberately delayed, deliberately. Not that we were caught up with something, well, we delayed to like the last 5 minutes, last 10 minutes. Then what will happen? The same thing will happen with Fajr. And the same thing will happen with Maghrib. And the same thing will happen with other prayers. Because one sin never remains one sin. It leads to more. وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولِ You find obeying Allah difficult? Whoever obeys Allah and the Messenger, those will be with the ones upon whom Allah has bestowed favor. Those who obey Allah and the Messenger, they will be with who? Those whom Allah is happy with. Who are they? مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ. The prophets, the truthful, the martyrs, the righteous. وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا. And excellent are those as companions. Look at this. A person, when he obeys Allah and the Messenger, then he becomes the friend of who? He will be amongst who? The prophets. Can you imagine? If we ever have the phone number of a very important person, do we feel happy about that? If we know where they live, if we know what kind of coffee they drink, do we feel happy about that? If we know a little bit about their family, if we've met their cousin, if we've met their distant aunt, then what happens? What happens? We feel so happy about it, right? Because we feel closer to them. Because they are people of a high status. The people who really have a high status are who? Prophets, Nabiyyin, Siddiqeen, Shuhada, Salihin. Imagine when a person obeys Allah and the Messenger, he will be in their company. ذَلِكَ الْفَضْلُ مِنَ اللَّهِ. That is the bounty from Allah. And sufficient is Allah as the knower. O you who have believed, take your precaution, and either go forth in companies or go forth altogether. And indeed there is among you he who lingers behind. And if disaster strikes you, he says, Allah has favored me in that I was not present with them. But if bounty comes to you from Allah, He will surely say, as if there had never been between you and Him any affection, Oh, I wish I had been with them, so I could have attained a great attainment. Meaning when you suffer, He's happy. And when you gain something, then He has regrets. So let those fight in the cause of Allah who sell the life of this world for the hereafter. And he who fights in the cause of Allah and is killed or achieves victory, we will bestow upon him a great reward.